Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel, where we bring you critical and in-depth reviews on just about every indie game we can get our hands on, and today we're going to be taking a look at Death Road to Canada. But before I get into it too much, I have to give a huge shout out to our newest Patreon, Yo Twone, for making it possible for me to even cover this game at all. So thanks, buddy, it's a huge help and I really appreciate it. But getting into Death Road to Canada, it's another one of those games that when I dove into it, I don't think I was really prepared by what I read on the eShop. It's described as a roguelike zombie adventure RPG, but more to the case, it's a zombie survival roguelike RPG. And getting into the story like we would expect from most roguelikes in general, it's pretty darn light. Basically, the zombie apocalypse has taken place, and it's your mission and your goal to make it all the way to the very friendly and receptive Canada. And using any means necessary, whether by car or on foot, you alone or with a partner, along with any survivors you may be able to pick up along the way, will try and make this dangerous trek. However, as this is a post-apocalyptic game, you'll be swarmed by zombies, which leads us to the main first game dynamic, which is real-time combat. You'll have to stop along the way to get food and gas to make it further along the trip, but at every stop you can be swarmed by dozens or even hundreds of zombies at a time. So finding weapons, learning how to dodge, throwing furniture, anything you can do to help you find that next Twinkie or that next pipe wrench to help you get further on your journey is going to be something that you'll really have to weigh the risks for. As this is a gigantic road trip, there will be multiple stops along the way and sometimes choices of whether to stop at one or the other. And incorporating the survival element of the game, you'll have to choose which resources you may need to refill on and which ones you can take a gamble to hold out another day. However, as this is pretty much an even split between a roguelike adventure, a survival adventure, and an RPG adventure, there are a few unique dynamics of gameplay that a player might want to be aware about beforehand. And one of the main ones is the two-way split between the styles of gameplay. Obviously, as we just talked about, at every single stop you'll have to survive swarms of zombies to collect the necessary resource to make it all the way to the border. However, it's during the drive time between stops that the real RPG elements unfold. Though you'll be collecting resources such as med kits and weapons at each of the stops, it's during that drive time that you'll actually be able to use them and heal your party, as well as see how each party member is getting along and how the group dynamics unfold. Starting the game, you'll be able to pick a single character or even add a buddy if you want to decrease the difficulty just a little bit, and you'll have the option of allotting certain personality traits and skills, or you can throw the dice on a random roll. But either way, when you start getting into the game, especially as you start collecting party members, and as you start getting into certain situations that are a little bit more of a pinch, you'll really start to realize how certain personality traits interact or don't in some cases, and which skills and traits might be exceptionally valuable to the way you in particular play the game. But as the Death Road to Canada is definitely a roguelike adventure, you're not really meant to make it all the way to Canada on your first play, but that doesn't mean that every death in the game is a complete waste. Starting over, should you have managed to rescue a few characters or make it past a few key points in the game, you'll be awarded with one skill point called, I think, a Zombo Point, which you can spend at the start screen in a certain number of ways. Whether that's unlocking or upgrading certain skills to let you start the game with a better medical knowledge and more med kits, or higher strength and stamina to be a better brawler, or even starting the game with a better vehicle and a better mechanical knowledge, are just a few ways that you can invest in your player before restarting the game that could fundamentally change the way you play. However, getting back to certain skill traits and personality types, not only do they have an impact on your own group dynamic, but they'll impact how you can encounter certain situations, and if you can make use of them at all. If you've run over way too many zombies along your trek so far and your car is starting to wear down, you may encounter a garage at some point with the potential to repair it. However, if none of your players have any mechanical skill, you might just end up wasting a day or two and a lot of food. Other events such as encountering bandits who want to steal all of your food could really benefit from having a character with a really aggressive personality, because you might just get lucky and be able to chase them off. And it'll be up to you as the party leader to decide who does what and when, and what situations and stops you choose to take part in, and which ones you choose to avoid. In one of my own first earlier gameplays, I had recruited a lot of party members, and I felt like I was making some great progress, but there was a particularly dicey situation that I could have sent in someone as a scout, and instead I sent everybody. And lo and behold, one of my characters with an incredibly low morale took a swing because she was scared, and ended up mortally wounding one of my stronger characters. So definitely lesson learned on how players interact and how to use personality traits. And overall, though I did really enjoy my time with the game and am definitely going back for a few more rounds, I'd have to say there is actually a lot to wrap your head around, and the learning curve is pretty steep. And that's not just with juggling the three distinctly different types of gameplay and figuring out party dynamics per se, but even in the more simple aspects of action and adventure games such as HP and weapon durability bars. Death Road to Canada does have amazing visuals and dozens upon dozens of different zombie sprites, but what that does make it difficult to do is determine which ones have how much HP, even after playing the game multiple times. Because sometimes it really is better to flee from certain zombies. It'd be nice to know which one are going to take 20 and 30 hits and which ones you can mow down with a single swing. But on that note specifically, it would also be nice to tell how long your weapons might potentially last. Even though you may be able to find tennis rackets, golf clubs, machetes, and even samurai swords at certain points, you'll only be able to wield one while carrying 2 other items, whether that's supplies or additional weapons. And until you've played through the game quite a bit, you're not really going to know how long or how durable each weapon might last. Additionally though, and still on the same topic of player learning curve, not knowing what certain personality traits do, or how beneficial certain skills can be due to a bit of a lack of a description, really does result in the player being forced to go through dozens of bouts of trial and error, and not necessarily to find out their own play style, but to figure out what each of these things do. And so on that note, while the mechanics of the game and the combinations of genres and the graphics and the audios actually seem really well done, most of the game's critiques lie in the player's learning curve. As a roguelike, you're going to be forced to start over anyway to reinvest in your character to have a better start to progress further on your next play. But one thing that might rub certain players the wrong way is feeling like the only reason they had to start over is because they didn't have enough information to go on. And of course, while there are tons of players that would really enjoy discovering and exploring the new traits in a new world for themselves, I personally feel like a lot of players who are going into this and really enjoying the RPG aspects may get a little bit perturbed because there's going to be no way to understand all the best organics of party dynamics without specific information of what each of these things do. But if you did make it this far into the review and you think that Death Road to Canada may be a game you'd like to try, or if you're already an existing fan, I've got a little bit of a special bonus for you. I just found out, digging around last night on the internet, that a company called East Asia Soft just put out their pre-orders for the physical copy of Death Road to Canada. So if you are a zombie survival fan, or if you're a games collector, that's something you definitely want to keep an eye on, especially because right now they're only charging $25, and they're only going to release a couple thousand copies in the world. So yes, I've already pre-ordered mine. But anyway, that does about wrap up the review of Death Road to Canada, now on the Nintendo Switch. So if you enjoyed the review or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a comment or a like to show your support. And don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. There are new and unique indies coming out literally every single day, so there's always going to be something new to find right here. But since I can only cover a couple games a week, if you want to know which ones might be reviewed next, you can follow us on Twitter. And if, like Yo Twone, you want to become a Patreon and support this channel and help me actually create these reviews, you can click that little orange Patreon button up in our banner and become one of our Patreon supporters. But anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.